took it all away. Help us find him.
Hello and welcome to Crime Watch. 40 detectives are here to help us crack tonight's cases, and we start with Nisha Patel Nasri. As well as running her own hairdressing business, Nisha made time to work as a special constable.
Maybe Nisha's murder made the headlines it did because she had a history of standing up to criminals. But that, as it turned out, was the last thing she did.
She was very loving, very caring, always helping people, had a good heart. Cheeky smile. She had a very cheeky smile.
And you're short. And you're short. You just walk around like this munchkin person.
Always happy and bubbly, and whether it's early morning, late at night, she'll always be happy and bubbly.
Two breaths. Let's move.
This was the brutal murder of a woman in a quiet residential street here in Wembley. She was a woman who gave an awful lot to her community. She gave it freely, for no payment at all.
Do you want this bracelet?
Yeah, just
We got on very, very well. We had a very good life together.
Oh, come on. How could you do that? You got it all.
You're making a mess up.
Yeah.
Is that my anniversary present?
You know it is.
Happy anniversary. I am going to go and have a shower and then I'll clean this lot up. Listen, why don't you go and play some snooker?
Really?
You've got a lot of work on for the next few days, so go and have fun with the lads. I'll see you later, okay?
I won't be long.
Witnesses saw a hooded man walk down Charterhouse Avenue, and when he got to Sudbury Avenue, he turned right towards Sylvester Road.
There's quite a few places I'd like to go, actually.
There's that guy again.
A few minutes later, we know that that hooded man, or a man matching his description, came from Charterhouse Avenue again and walked towards Nisha's house.
Listen, what are you doing? Look, what are you doing? What are you doing here?
I'm just looking.
You're looking at what?
Nothing.
Ah! Ah!
What was that?
Open the door.
It's probably just a fox.
Two men were seen fleeing from the scene. One walked north up Sudbury Avenue, and the second ran up this way towards Sylvester Road. Once the hooded man got to the bottom of Sudbury Avenue, he turned left here into Sylvester Road towards Harrodine Road.
Help me! Help me! I need help!
The second hooded man walked in the opposite direction from Nisha's house, and he got to here at this junction and turned left into Rugby Avenue.
Help me!
Nisha was left on the pavement. She was screaming out, and yet this man didn't even look back as he walked away from what was a murder scene.
Help me!
Oh, God! Lie down. Oh.
20 Sudbury Avenue.
Tell him to hurry up. She's losing blood. It's really serious.
Losing a lot of blood. It's everywhere. There's blood
Come on, love.
everywhere.
Wake up.
Hurry up.
What's going on? She's been stabbed.
I don't know.
She's losing a lot of blood. Get something to stop the bleeding. Anything. Tea towel, anything. Come on, keep breathing. Stay with us. Stay with us.
Just before we're entering the snooker club, we get a phone call from the neighbour saying to come back quick. When I entered the road, you could see blue lights everywhere. The ambulance was there.
What's happened up Nisha? How long has she been down, Alex? Nisha, I'm her husband, please. What happened?
I'm not sure it's she's not breathing for herself at the moment. We're breathing for her. We're doing all we can at the moment.
Nisha, please talk to her.
Just shift the breaths.
We were trying to bring her back to life. No hope.
Nisha died from a single stab wound to her groin. Now there's a knife missing from the house. It's the same as this knife here. It's a John Lewis Evolution Cook's knife. It has the name John Lewis embossed on the blade. Now that knife is missing from the murder scene. Around this time an R-Reg Rover was seen on Charterhouse Avenue. It's very distinctive, with purple stickers peeling off the back driver's side window. The car was parked behind me here for about 5 minutes before then making a very awkward 5-point turn and then moving off in the opposite direction back down Charterhouse Avenue. Shortly afterwards, the car was seen again parked up round the corner on Rugby Avenue. The engine was still running and a man was seen walking towards it. We don't know whether he got into this car or a red BMW that was parked in front of the Rover.
It's completely changed my life. You know, there's no words that can explain what it has done. She didn't deserve to die like that at all. And whoever's responsible, come down and put yourself forward.
I'm appealing for anybody that may know the person who's committed this murder. No amount of loyalty to a family friend or a colleague is not worth coming forward for and helping me identify who murdered Nisha here.
Julian, the earlier report suggested that Nisha had come out of the house, perhaps with this knife, but actually you don't know that. It's possible that the burglar, whatever it was, went into the house because keys like these are missing.
That's correct. What we do know is that Nisha would have had a set of keys identical to these that have been missing probably for some 3 weeks prior to the murder happening.
These are very distinctive. I mean, I've not seen a key like that before, and it's this combination with that sort of key and with one of these Chubb window patio door sort of locks. And she would have been concerned because there'd been an attempted burglary, it seemed, on the Saturday night, about 5 days earlier.
That's correct. It was on the Saturday, the 6th of May, at around 10 o'clock in the evening. Nisha disturbed a couple of black men at her front door. Having challenged them, they then moved off. But then a third male came back to the house and again tried the front door before he indeed made off himself.
Now, the two who were seen on the night of the murder, we must assume the guy who walked off, ignoring her screams, was connected with this. One reasonably tallish and one really rather short.
That's right. The one that ran off was probably in the region of about 5'10". We believe he was black. The other man who walked off in the opposite direction, you're quite right. Nisha's left screaming on the floor here, and he's just walked off and ignored everything that's gone behind him.
Now, I bet you there are people who know who is involved in this. I mean, do you want to make a direct appeal for these guys to ring in and shop their friends?
Absolutely. As I said in the reconstruction there, I know that there are people out there who know who've done this. They know who's responsible, and they're thinking about whether they should phone tonight and let us know who's done it. All I would say is this: come forward now. There is a reward if that makes a difference, but I don't think it should make a difference. I think you should step forward now and name this person.
All right. Also, if you can help eliminate any of these cars that are registered Rover, which is the 5-point turn that had that sort of blackout stuff peeling from the window, or any of the other vehicles. And as you've heard, the Sun has offered a £10,000 reward if that helps. Call us here in the studio, or call the Instant Room on 020 8247 7821. You can also log on to our website, bbc.co.uk/crime.
Christopher Allen Amy had a whole life in front of him too. He was 18 when he was stabbed in Sheerness in Kent last month. Just listen to what it's done to his mum.
He was humble, respectful, lively, promising young man and a Christian. He moved to Sheerness last year. He was happy there. He said everybody's there is nice and friendly. He comes home and goes, you know. He was due to come on the 22nd Saturday, but the tragic happened on the Friday night, so he didn't have the chance. Feel very hot, cheated, and sad for what they've done to my boy, my only son. I don't know how they can sleep. My boy is lying there in the mortuary, and they're out there going about, living. He deserves to get justice done. Without justice, it's like he's killed over 10 times more.
Well, Chris's mum, absolutely devastated there. It's clear for all to see. And DCI John Bumpers, let's just remind ourselves of the fact. Chris was attacked in the High Street in Sheerness at a pub, Bar 1. Give us the details of what happened there.
Christopher was attacked in the High Street, not actually inside Bar 1 Public House. We believe that Christopher did not know his attackers. Just before midnight on the 21st of April, Christopher was walking with his friends along the High Street. Something sparked an altercation with another group. Christopher and his friends were chased. Just as this was happening, our second victim stepped into the High Street and was basically mown down in the rush. He was kicked and stabbed while he lay on the floor. Christopher, by now, had been cornered into a grassy area just off the High Street, where he was fatally stabbed. The whole incident took no more than a minute.
You've got some CCTV, haven't you, of witnesses around the incident who you're very keen to talk to tonight. In particular, there's one woman, a blonde lady here. Look, you can see her in the kind of lightish coloured jacket there. She walks right past where Chris was being cared for after the stabbing. Obviously, you want to talk to her, don't you?
We believe, excuse me, we believe that the assault occurred in front of her, so it's very important that we trace her.
Now, there's two others who arrived at the pub just before the attack. Let's take a look at them. There we are, those two walking past there. You want to speak to them too?
These two lads, they were walking just in front of Christopher and his group. We don't think they were part of Christopher's group, and they go into Bar 1. Again, what did they hear? Who else did they see in the High Street? We need them to come forward and help us.
I mean, the thing is, obviously, you want to speak to anyone who is in the pub in the area at the time, but there's also some people who did speak to the police at the time. They came forward, they gave some help, but again, you want to get in touch with them.
Yeah. We can see three men here talking to the police. One of them is pointing towards the seafront.
That's the one in the stripy T-shirt, and the other person on the other side there.
And naturally, we want to know why they're pointing in that direction. What have they seen?
I mean, there's a lot of witnesses there, and these are the people that you need to speak to tonight. I'd say you want to speak to anyone who was in the pub, who was around in that area at the time, and of course it's quite likely that these people may well have, the attackers may well have talked to someone about this.
It is very likely, as has already been mentioned this evening, that there is someone very close to the person or persons responsible for the murder of Christopher and the attack on our second victim. That person will know exactly what's happened and who's responsible. I need that person to pick up the phone and call me instantly.
For Chris's mother's sake, if no one
Absolutely.
else, please give us a call here in the studio or the instant room on 01622 654 860. And you can call Crime Stoppers anonymously if you want on 0800 555 111. Now, Christopher's case is a shocking example of what the casual carrying of knives can do. And is there anything the battered and besieged Home Office can do about it? Well, tomorrow it announces a new knife amnesty, and the man running it is with Nick.
Well, there's nothing new about the penalty for carrying a knife. If you get caught, you can serve up to 4 years in prison. But, as Fiona says, from tomorrow, and it's not just the Home Office in Scotland too, and in Northern Ireland and Wales, of course, an amnesty. Last time they tried this in Strathclyde alone, there was 25% drop in murders. It's hard to believe, Ian, that people who would go around with something like this would really just give it in an amnesty.
Well, let me say, first of all, people are walking the streets with these knives, and anything we can do to take them off. Last time, there were about 30,000 weapons, very, very similar in this nature, were actually handed in. And the important thing about this campaign is we're not aiming at the hardened criminal who probably isn't going to respond to that, but young men who are on the fringes of the knife culture. We want to get them weapons out of their way so that we can actually protect them from themselves.
But a lot of them say that they carry these knives, and they probably mean it because they're frightened. There was a survey a couple of years ago which showed about 60,000 school kids carried knives because they were frightened.
Yeah. Well, that's a seriously bad idea for two reasons. One, they could end up in jail, and secondly, there's lots of instances where people carrying knives apparently for their own protection have have actually had them taken from them, and they've ended up victims themselves. So it's a seriously bad idea.
Doctors have been pointing out that it's incredibly arbitrary if you stab someone, even with a little blade like that. Whether you kill somebody or not is a matter of pure luck.
Absolutely. I mean, you put a knife in somebody, you could be a millimetre away from their heart and they'll live, or a millimetre to the other side and they're dead. Frankly, these are very, very dangerous weapons, all of them.
How are you going to stop me if I'm caught, or anybody else, walking down the street with this, and you say, right, mate, you're nicked, and I say, oh, well, actually, I was going to the police station, I was going to hand it in. How do you stop people using this as an alibi?
Right. Well, I think they find it very hard with that one, but what we're asking people to do is to wrap them up in cardboard, sellotape, in a way that means they're not easily accessible and they're obviously being prepared to hand in at a police station. So I think if you walk down the street waving that around...
So you've got to wrap it up properly.
Absolutely.
And what, there are bins like this at police stations?
Absolutely, yes, throughout the country, as you said, throughout England, Scotland, Wales and indeed in Ireland. Bins like this where the knives will be put in there, they'll be irretrievable. These cabinets will be locked to the ground so people can't take them away. There's proper safety precautions around them.
OK, well, we'll see. The amnesty, as you've heard, was a very big success last time. As Ian said 10 years ago, 30,000 knives handed in, big drop in homicides and knifings thereafter. Let's see if we can top that. The amnesty runs, as I say, from tomorrow until the end of June.
Well, let's hope it's as successful as this month's Crimewatch progress. And remember, arrests are made in 1 out of 3 cases we feature, and half of them directly down to help from you at home. In January, we showed film of Ayaz Ahmed Nabi, nicknamed Pinky, wanted on suspicion of drug dealing. As a result of our appeal, he was traced to Pakistan and arrested on his return to Britain. He's been charged with firearms and drug offences.
Last July, we reconstructed a double stabbing in the New Moon pub in Tottenham in North London. We showed footage of 3 men who were wanted in connection with the incident. The 19-year-old Aret Lekaj was arrested last month. He's been charged with GBH.
Gladys Hammond's remains were dug up in October 2004 as part of a campaign against her family by animal rights extremists. DCI Nick Baker appealed for your help on Crimewatch the following March.
Well, something happened straight after we came off the air. One John Smith collected fellow campaigners John Abel White and Kerry Whitburn from their homes, which are in the Midlands, and they drove to Brackenhurst Wood in Newchurch, which is near the guinea pig farm owned by Gladys Hammond's family.
They were called by police a few hours later. Tools and camouflage gear were found in Smith's car. He eventually revealed the whereabouts of Gladys's remains, and they were recovered 3 weeks ago.
3 animal rights activists who robbed a woman's grave as part of a campaign of intimidation have been sent to jail for 12 years.
A female accomplice, Josephine Mayo, was given 4 years. DCI Baker said the Crimewatch appeal was a pivotal part of the investigation.
Last September, at Crimewatch First, we were looking not for villains, but for victims. There'd been progress on 2 stabbings 10 years ago, but where were the victims now? Well, thanks to Crimewatch, someone came forward, and yesterday a man was charged with 3 offences.
Alexander Hamish Brown was on the run for 2 years, until we showed his face on the programme for a second time. As a result, he was arrested in December and has now been jailed for 8 years for drug dealing.
76-year-old Gwen Knitter was robbed by Jonathan Messett about 18 months ago, and she died 6 weeks after the attack. About this time last year, we appealed for help to find Messett, and as a direct result, he was arrested. He was found guilty of 3 counts of robbery, and today at Corrigan Crown Court, he was jailed for 9 years.
Just time for one more. Drug dealer Gary Robinson went on the run after police raided his home in Leicester 2 years ago. They found 6,000 ecstasy pills and 10 kilos of cannabis. We showed his face on the programme. He was arrested in September, and last month he got 6 years for drugs and firearms offences.
Still to come, who would kill Joe Shipton, a man most of his village thought of as a harmless eccentric? Joe kept bank statements in the bathroom and tools and underwear in the fridge. But was there something else he kept at home that cost him his life?
An innocent mother with a child in bed upstairs. But what happened to 22-year-old Lucy Hargreaves last summer in the Walton area of Liverpool has so shaken the community that police there have offered their first ever reward.
Thank you. Cheers. Look at that.
Are you going to share this with me? I'm going to have to get my own. There you go.
She was a lovely mum and very protective of her children. Everyone who met her liked her. You know, she was just a nice, caring person and a devoted mother to her children. I think she had a very happy childhood. She liked dancing and girl things. She was very sort of feminine, really, and girly. The four of us were quite a close-knit sort of family, and saw each other all the time.
This is the actual hallway of Lucy's home where she was murdered on that night. The damage through the hallway gives you some idea of the intensity of the fire. It's quite incredible. And as the senior investigating officer, her murder poses a lot of questions which I want answering. This was the night before Lucy's murder. My feelings are that these were the killers driving past in a silver Mondeo, doing a recce.
Won't be long. Do you want out?
No, Tom.
See ya.
A little later, a white van was parked a short distance from Lucy's home here on Lambourne Road. The driver was sat there for ages. Who is he? And what did he see?
Gary? Are you awake? Gary?
Get the petrol.
Lucy! Oi! Lucy! What? Lucy! Oh, Sophie! 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 Lucy! It's okay. We're gonna have to jump it again. Come on. On! Hurry up! Go on, let's go! Lucy! Lucy! Will somebody wake up? My bed's been shot! Will someone help me? Guys, hey! Where are you going? Get out! Somebody get something for the floor! All right. Come on. It doesn't look too good, does it?
someone's house got petrol bombed and people got injured and stuff like that. I don't want to give my name, and all I want to do is, I know the lads that have just done it. Yeah.
This man is an important piece in this jigsaw. I believe he witnessed Lucy's murder and knows who is responsible. So I'd appeal to him to come forward and speak to me and tell me what he knows.
We've lost our beautiful daughter. 3 children have lost their mother. They'll suffer from the effects of that the whole of their lives. Somebody out there must have some information, however small. Could they please come forward tonight and tell what they know?
When you look at that, at Lucy's murder, it has all the hallmarks of a gangland execution, doesn't it? But you're leading this investigation, you've looked into her past, and as far as you're concerned, she's entirely innocent, isn't she?
That's right. I think it is important to emphasise that Lucy was a young mum, as the way the film has been portrayed. She wasn't involved in crime, and the people who have murdered her must have known that they were murdering a young mother.
And also, they will have heard her child crying upstairs. As they poured that petrol over, the child was crying upstairs.
That's right. This is an appalling murder. As you've said, they've killed Lucy at close range. They've set fire to the house, knowing and hearing the child cry.
I mean, thankfully, her other 2 kids were at their grands, weren't they? I mean, one key person you want to hear from, it's clear from that reconstruction there, is the person who was in the phone box, who made that very important call, and you want to speak to him again.
Yeah, that person contacted the police within an hour of Lucy's murder. He clearly knows who's responsible, and I believe has witnessed her murder, so I'd appeal to him to contact me tonight.
And of course, anyone else that these people who carried out this attack may have talked to. There's a lot of planning involved in this, wasn't there? And then an array of cars. There's the Ford Mondeo that was seen before the attack. There was a white van that was seen, 1 hour or so before the attack.
Yeah.
And then the Lexus that they stole and then torched afterwards.
Yeah, the Lexus was stolen on the 26th of July from the Mossley Hill area. We know that vehicle has been seen in the Norris Green area of Liverpool during that week, and on the afternoon of Lucy's murder it was seen in the Liverpool 11 area. So keen to find out who was in possession of that vehicle on the hours leading up to her murder.
And you put up the first ever award. The first ever award you think Liverpool police have ever put up with this?
That's correct. I'm certainly not aware of a reward that's been put up by Merseyside Police, but we were appalled, as I said, that this is a disgraceful act of violence against Lucy, and we wanted to demonstrate our determination to catch the people responsible.
Well, it's £10,000. If you know anything, call us here in the studio or call the instant room on 0151 777 8660. Now, Detective Constable Rav Wilding has 6 characters up to no good, of course on camera.
And we start with a South American drug smuggler who was just getting into his stride. This fella marching through Clapham, South London is a Colombian drug dealer, and he's dealing in Colombian marching powder, cocaine, £120,000 worth. He calls himself Xavier, and here he's trying to get rich quick in the back of a car. Help get him in the back of a police car. The balding bloke at this internet cafe in West London only popped in to send a fax. So where's the crime in that? Well, police are convinced he's faxing the judge and others in a £50 million cocaine trial, trying to pervert the course of justice. Help get him into court. It's easy to look innocent with a kid in tow. The lad's called Mikey, and these two took him along when they paid a shipping bill at a bank in Ormskirk. The consignment? Skunk cannabis, with a street value of 1.8 million. Shipped into Liverpool in February and bound for Shropshire. Names for the girls, please. This grey-haired robber looks ashen-faced and comes over like a nervous wreck, but not half as nervous as the cashier he threatened to shoot in Bourne End in Buckinghamshire. She was still shaking 2 hours later. He fumbles the cash and drops it. Watch him puff his cheeks out in relief as he leaves. Give us all some relief. Name him. Finally, take a good look at this thug. He's on his way to winning his own Brute of the Month competition hands down. He's prowling the gangways of a Sydenham to Croydon Southern Service train looking for an easy way to make money. Hit someone and take their wallet is his plan. But he meets a fair bit of resistance from a man who's just minding his own business. It's your business to nail the thief in the night top, the gold chain, the dark blue trousers and a very smug smirk. Can you wipe it off his face?
Well, I think there's a few commuters who would struggle to keep a smile off their faces if he was identified. Call us here in the studio, or you can text us. Just text CW, followed by your message, to 83199.
Something odd has happened in Salford in Lancashire. Or rather, something odd hasn't happened, and thank God for that. About 6 months ago, there were 2 attacks so weird, so disturbing, it looked as if we were in for a spate of knifings or even murders. But it hasn't happened. So what's the attacker been up to since? Where is he tonight?
Duffy, come away. Whoever this guy is, he's got an unhealthy interest in knives. He'll buy knives, he'll collect them, he'll carry them. If you're a local knife seller, you will know who he is. You will have met him.
I didn't feel fearful because I do take the route, you know, every day when I do walk the dog. I've always felt, you know, comfortable and secure and felt safe.
I'm gonna kill you.
No, you're not! No! Get off! Help me! Get off me! He was just continually, non-stop, trying to stab me. My whole mind was totally fixed on the knives, just to keep them away from me. You're fighting for survival because you don't want to die. It's your human instinct that, you know, you've got somebody in front of you who wants to take your life and you're there actually fighting and struggling with him. I started pulling him away, and then I was pulling him again, and I was pulling him again. And I glanced up at him, and he looked at me as if, hang on a minute, this should be the other way round. I should be pulling you, you shouldn't be pulling me.
Get off me! No, I won't, you little pig! Get off me!
I sustained 3 injuries to my back and to my right leg and my right buttock. I feel annoyed and I feel angry and I feel hurt. And I worry about the next person that he might attack.
This is a very risky place to attack. It's overlooked, and at the time of day, there would have been a lot of people around. This tells me he's operating in a very chaotic manner. He's angry, he's upset, and he's frustrated, and Karen has walked into his world. The spontaneous nature of it gave me concern we'd get a further attack.
I was wary of the area and the need to be conscious of what was going on around me. I didn't feel that I had to be too aware because it was actually only just after 6 o'clock.
I'm gonna get you.
What?
I'm gonna get you.
Get you around the other side!
I knew that the direction he was going to be heading would lead him directly to the other side of where I was heading, which would have meant that this was now off the main road and away from anybody else likely to walk past. still felt panicked because I was then going from one situation, having a knife pulled on me, to then getting into a van with a complete stranger and having to explain to him that there was a guy that had threatened me with a knife. But that was really my only option to take.
Whoever this guy is, he's a loner. He's detached from his friends and his family. But those people that know him recognise the ability for sudden outbursts of violence and anger. This makes him a very dangerous offender, that if presented with the right circumstances and in the right mood, he will attack again.
Jeff, you've been quite precise about the personality of this guy, and that's because you've had a profiler from the National Crime Faculty look at him, and that guy is pretty confident you can geographically specify where this bloke lives.
He knows Victoria Park. He will be living in proximity of Victoria Park, within 1 to 2 miles in the general area.
So somewhere around Swinton?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so we're appealing tonight to people who live in Swinton, people who live within that, what, 1.5 mile radius of Victoria Park. A guy like this. Tell us everything we know about him. He's quite young, isn't he?
He's quite young, 18 to 22 years of age, around 5'8" to 5'10" maximum. Slim build with very short, closely cropped, recently cropped hair.
And this obsession about knives. I mean, we started the reconstruction with him scoring the bench there.
Yep.
And, you know, and the first attack, he had 2 knives.
Yeah, absolutely, which is very, very rare and very, very unusual. He'll have an obsession with knives. He'll collect them, he'll carry them habitually.
Will he have come into contact with the authorities? I don't know, youth workers, psychiatric social workers, psychiatric services, I don't know, health workers or anything else?
Health workers, youth workers, outreach workers. He might not be known to the police, but he may well be known to other public
Of course, he might be known
servants.
to the police. I mean, he's disappeared. Could he be known to prison officers?
That's a very strong possibility.
So why did he stop in December?
I need to find out where he's gone from December onwards and what he's been up to.
Well, OK, is he still in Swinton? Is he still in that area? For heaven's sake, if you've got any clues at all, we've got to stop this guy before something worse happens. Call us here in the studio, or you can call the incident room on 0161 856 5333. Now, the murder last month of Michael Mackenzie. The SJ in Corrigan and the officer in charge of the case have a special appeal to make for 10 people who might have seen the murder happen.
Chris, tell us what's happening at this bus stop here.
It's around 10:30 at night, Tuesday the 4th of April, a bus stop in Peckham Hill Street, South London.
Now, it's busy, still a lot of people around, and a lot of people who you still need to speak to.
A number of buses stop here, and there's 10 witnesses who haven't come forward, who are at the bus stop or on the number 78 bus that arrives. They may have seen Michael's murder or what led up to it.
Now, this is about 5 minutes before Michael was fatally stabbed in the neck, and you're as interested in what these people have heard as much as what they've seen.
We know that words were exchanged at the bus stop.
Let's concentrate on the witnesses who you want to hear from tonight. In a second, we'll see the 78 bus pull up, and as it does, Michael is stabbed. Some of these people are virtually on top of what's happened.
You can see one of them at the back. He looks to have seen everything that's happened, and it may be that he's got blood on his trousers and on his shoes.
He's clearly a vital witness and somebody who we need to speak to. Now, we're not criticising these people.
No, it may be that they think we have all we need to know from other witnesses. The point is, we want them to tell us.
Let's concentrate on the 10 witnesses we need to come forward. There's this lady here getting on the bus, and she's closely followed by these 2 guys here.
Yes, and they're followed by 2 other men.
And we'll see a chap in a second in a light brown jacket.
And this guy wearing glasses seems to be distracted.
And there's these 2 outside. Now, if we put all 10 of them together, that's a lot of potential information. And we particularly want to speak to this guy here.
Yeah, you can actually see him here telling somebody what he's seen. The point is, we want him to tell us.
Well, Michael was a painter and decorator who lived at home with his mum. He wasn't involved in any crime here. If you were on the number 78 bus or at the bus stop and haven't yet spoken to police, please, please get in touch. Call us here in the studio or call the incident room on 0208 721 4805.
The village of Shearing near Harlow in Essex has 800 people living there, and most of them have been talking about the truly bizarre case of Joe Shipton.
This is the most unusual crime scene I've been in. It was Joe's home and he'd lived there for most of his life, yet on the side there's only a pot of jam. No food in the house, or no obvious food. When we open the fridge, it's full of his tools. The house itself is dirty on an industrial scale, and I'm fairly certain he's not dusted or hoovered in there for 25 years. Joe was found at the foot of his stairs, and it wasn't until the post-mortem examination a couple of days later that it became clear that this was not an accident. Joe had been bludgeoned over the head, and this was now a murder investigation. When we entered the crime scene, it was quite clear to the team that not many people had been there in front of us. We quickly established that Joe was a very, very private man, and he rarely, if ever, invited anybody into his home. So how is it then that someone managed to get into Joe's home and do this to him? Building up a picture of Joe proved to be quite difficult. Everybody in the village knew him, but nobody really knew the real person or what made him tick. His family have very little knowledge about how he lived, and there are no photographs of Joe taken in the last 25 years. He was well known in both pubs in the village and would drink regularly with his friends, but then would disappear for weeks or months on end and nobody would see him. Now, where did he go in the period that he wasn't socialising within the village? Is there another side to Joe that we don't know about?
You know, certain people in the village, they say that they see him taking things off of washing lines and that. It's just rumours at the end of the day, and you don't sort of want to get involved with things like that. In this business, you hear all the rumours, you do, but he never struck me as a guy that would do such a thing like that. But I could be totally wrong.
The rumours circulating the village that Joe was the knicker were quickly confirmed by our search of his house, and we found a great quantity of ladies' underwear. We also found witnesses who told us that they'd seen Joe dressed in women's clothing over the last few years. Now, neither of these are any reason to murder Joe, but I do wonder if it doesn't take us into a side of Joe's life that we don't know about. For all his funny ways, Joe was a very nice man. He'd regularly lend his friends money, 20, 30 or 40 pounds. Now, he wasn't a loan shark and there was no interest involved in these loans, but if he lent you money, he expected it back. Thanks, Joe. It's rumoured in the village that he had about £20,000 in cash in his house. And we recovered £5,000 when we searched. Now, was there more money in the house? Is this the reason that Joe was murdered?
We've heard all the rumours in the village where he kept a substantial amount of money in his house. Whether it would be 20,000, 100,000, we don't know. But to me, I would have thought he'd have kept a couple of £100. That was his style.
This is what we do know about Joe's last day. At about 12:30 p.m. on the Friday, a friend went and called on Joe and found the back door ajar.
Are you there, Joe?
He got no reply, and he was after a loan. That same person went back to Joe's house at about 7 p.m. that evening and found the door in the same state and still didn't get a reply. Now, we know that Joe was still alive at about 4:40 p.m. on the Friday because he was seen by a neighbour in his back garden.
Hello, Joe. You all right?
Now, at this time, Joe appeared to be agitated and a bit upset. Now, why is that? The next day, the friend in need of a loan went back to Joe's house for a third time. The door was still open, and this time, he went in.
Joe? Joe, are you up there?
The big question is, how is it that Joe, this private man who keeps the world at arm's length, ends up being murdered in his own home? It just doesn't add up.
Well, Detective Superintendent Simon Tinsdale, you're leading this investigation. It's clear from what you said in the reconstruction there, it may well be that the key to finding out who did this is filling in the gaps in Joe's life.
Absolutely. As I said on the film, Joe would drink regularly in the pubs. He had a circle of friends who he would stay with, but then would disappear and not be seen in the pubs for weeks or months on end. Now, is there another side to Joe that nobody knows about? If you're a part of that life, then I want to hear from you. Similarly, we think that he had a number of relationships with men I beg your pardon, women, but possibly men as well. And if that's the case, I'd like to hear from those people as well.
There's a number of clues in particular, aren't there, to a kind of hinterland in Joe's life that you haven't been able to tap into. He was known for smoking roll-ups, wasn't he, at the pub? But then he started buying ready-made, regular cigarettes in packets. Who were they for?
Well, that's right. There's no evidence that he smoked in his house. We understand he smoked roll-ups in the pub, yet he's buying packets of 10 cigarettes from the local shop. Now, they must be for someone. Yes. Who is that person who was getting those cigarettes?
And then the last time he was seen, he was upset, he was angry, he was kind of off, wasn't he, with his neighbour, which was unlike him. So again, what was that all about?
Exactly, very unlike him. Joe would talk to everyone. He had an opinion about everything and an opinion about everybody. Very unlike him to be agitated and upset. Why is that? Who made him upset?
What about the money in his house?
Well, you know, the rumour is that there was £20,000 in the house. We found over £5,000, which is a huge amount of money for anybody.
For sure.
Has someone suddenly come into £15,000?
Okay, well, there's a lot of gaps there that need filling. Calls here in the studio or call the incident room on 01268 775 588, or you can call Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800 555 111.
Going back in time now to a case that detectives simply will not drop. Two men were intent on raping a mother of four who was on her way home after a Saturday night out. This is just before Christmas 2 years ago. But she put up quite a fight, and now police have put up a record reward to help catch those attackers. She'd actually been out with friends at the Elbow Room bar in Islington, North London, when on the way home she was followed.
I heard some people behind me, and I felt fine until they kicked my legs from under me and dragged me into the park. I just didn't want to lie there and and take everything that they were going to give, so I thought I'm just going to fight back. There was a white guy who was quite bolshy. He was the bully. He was pushing me around a bit. He was the main one. The black guy he just pushed me a little bit into the park, and then he just stood there staring at me. I was really angry. I just kept thinking to myself, I'd rather be dead than you do anything to me. So, and that was my attitude. If you're going to do something, kill me, because I don't want to be here after. I just hate him. You know, can't even take my children to the park anymore.
Richard Bryars, I remember when you brought this case to us the first time. Just tell us why you brought it back again tonight, because you've got this massive reward now, haven't you?
Yes, we have, Fiona. This is the largest reward, £20,000, that the Met has ever offered for a rape investigation. It's probably the largest in the UK.
Well, let's hope it unlocks some clues tonight. Just remind us exactly where this happened.
It happened in an area called Barnard Park, which is quite close to Islington Police Station in Islington.
And as the woman says, it's the kind of place that people go and they take their children during the day, isn't it?
That's right.
There were two people, one person who hung back, a black guy who hung back, who didn't appear to take part in it. What can you tell us about him?
What I can tell you about that is that he's a black male in his late teens. He had his hair set in a cornrow style, and he spoke with a London accent. And what's quite noticeable about him, Fiona, he had a diamond stud earring in his left ear.
Now, as we heard the woman say quite clearly, he hung back at us. He didn't take an active part in this attempted rape. So, again, this is his opportunity to come forward and clear his name. I know you had a lot of calls last time when you came, about 40 or 50 calls, didn't you, last time you came. Let's not forget the person who did the attempted rape. What can you tell us about him?
The description isn't as good for him. He's a white man, spoke with a London accent, in his late teens to early 20s, mousy-coloured hair, and he had quite a distinctive, noticeable ring, silver ring on his right thumb.
And there were nicknames as well, weren't there?
Yes, there were. We received information of two names, potentially Jermaine and Crazy Legs, which could relate to either of the two men.
Okay, well, thanks very much for bringing this back. Let's hope we can help you tonight. If you know anything, call us here in the studio or call the incident room on 0207 421 0282.
We started tonight with the case of Nisha Patel Nazri, and we're still getting a lot of calls on that case. Nisha, of course, was a special constable who went to tackle offenders at her home. Tragically, the same thing happened 4 months ago in Sussex. Maurice Martin was a retired police officer who disturbed two burglars when he came home. As he opened his front door in Crowborough, the pair ran out. They'd stolen his late wife's jewellery, and one of them, a very fat guy, punched Mr. Martin and knocked him down the steps. Now, he was nearly 80. That broke his hip. And when he was out of hospital, he slipped again, probably because of his injury, and broke his neck. Shortly afterwards, he died. This is his son, John. You shared the house together, you and your family, with your dad, and he told you quite a lot about the incident.
Yeah, he came home at about 3:30. There was a car sitting in the driveway with its engine running, which he thought was strange, but having had builders around fairly recently, he was not too perturbed. But when he came out of the car and up the steps, these two guys burst out of the house. One of them ran straight past him, didn't touch him. The other one ran down the side of the steps and smacked him in the face as he went past.
Smacked him, they didn't just push him, actually hit him in the face.
Hit him in the
Somebody
face.
nearly 80 years old.
Yeah, and the stupid thing was they had a car sitting there with the engine running. They could have just got into it and gone, no trouble.
Do you blame them for your father's death? I mean, they didn't actually kill him there and then.
No, but ultimately he had a fall which everybody who sort of knows the circumstances is 100% sure would never have happened without the initial incident.
Julie, what is this case actually? Is it a murder inquiry or manslaughter or what?
No, it is not a murder inquiry. We're treating it as a burglary at this stage because there is a break in the continuity between the events, but obviously the chain of events is such that it's unlikely that what happened to Mr. Martin would have happened if this hadn't
Smacked an 80-year-old man in the face is incredible. And you've got quite a good description of the fat guy, yeah?
Yes, we have, yes. About 6'2".
So he's big, not
just fat. He's a big man, yes, big man, yeah. He's described as 6'2", about 16 stone plus. Mr. Martin gave us a description that he waddled rather than walked as he came towards him. And we've also got a footprint which we believe was left by him.
You've brought a shoe.
Yes.
This is the type of Reebok shoe that he was wearing. You know that from the footprint?
Yes, we know that certainly the sole pattern. It's the shoe we've got there is a Reebok Classic trainer in black. It could have been a black shoe, it could have been another colour upper, but certainly the sole print is the same as that was left.
And what about the car that John was telling us about his father saw?
Mr. Martin describes the vehicle as a white car, possibly a Talbot Horizon or a Talbot Sunbeam. There obviously aren't that many of them around anymore. They're an old make of car. And obviously we're appealing to anyone who saw a car of that description or that colour in this area at that time, which is the 3rd of January of this year.
Talbot Sunbeam, this sort of shoe, and a tall, fat man who waddles. Call us here in the studio, or you can call the incident room on 0845 607 0999, extension 33358. Now, Jane and Rav have some more wanted faces for you to look at.
27-year-old Diana Mattis is wanted by Surrey police for supplying heroin and crack cocaine. She's an illegal immigrant, originally from Jamaica and sounds Jamaican. She's connections in Tottenham, North London, and is known to use various aliases.
John Renner Dillon is wanted for raping a 16-year-old girl. He's lived in London and Newcastle, but also has connections in Portugal and Ireland. But what's really important about him are the distinctive tattoos on his forearms of a mermaid, a snake, a rose, a dagger, a heart and flowers, and the name Paula. He's a floor fitter by trade. Maybe he's putting a floor for you.
And this woman is wanted for stealing a Jaguar in a Thornhill area of Dewsbury in West Yorkshire. She's got out in a stolen Jag near Leeds and is then suspected of stealing items from a co-op. The car was used in a post office armed robbery a few days later. Now take a good look at her. Here her hair's up bun and she looks to have a number 13 on that top. But who is she?
Raymond Greenall is 50. He's wanted for sex offences against a boy just age 15. He's also wanted for threats to kill. He went missing last April. He's originally from Salford with links to Wigan and to Lee. If you know where any of tonight's wanted faces are, call us here 0500 600 600.
From a serious alert about one very dangerous man to another, and some seriously good news to end on. This one's been put away for 10 offences, including 4 kidnappings, 2 attempted kidnappings, and 2 indecent assaults on 5 girls, some as young as 11. In our reconstruction last April, we showed the attackers EFIT for the first time. This had a stunning response, 175 calls. Crucially, one of them named John David Hall, a senior prison officer. And now he was a suspect. Police found overwhelming evidence against him. Forensic and other clues linked him not just to sex assaults, but to a whole series of attacks on women going back to the late 90s. He was convicted of 5 rapes. On Friday, John David Hall was sentenced to life with a recommendation that he serve a minimum of 25 years. Now let's see if we've had some good information on calls for tonight's cases. Let's talk to Rav.
Now we're getting a good response tonight on a few of our cases already. Now we've had a very good number of calls coming in on Nisha Patel murder, but there's one caller in particular we really desperately need to phone back. This person sounded distressed, said they know her killers and hung up. We need this person to phone us back. The lines are definitely open. If that's you and you know who you are, please give us a call. Perhaps more positive news coming in from the Christopher Alan Amy murder. Now, we've had some good calls. One caller's identified someone from CCTV, and someone's actually identified themselves on it. The only thing perhaps would be even better than that is if they tell us who killed that poor boy. Now, our lines, as I said, are definitely much still open. We need them to... if you know anything about any of our cases, please do. Get on that phone and give us a call. We're going to have more in the update programme a little bit later. As for now, see what we got.
Well, you can find details of tonight's other cases on our website. That's bbc.co.uk/crime. And on the first case that we reconstructed tonight, the murder in North London of Nita. Remember, there was a guy who was about 6 foot, we think, and another guy who was much shorter. We've got some people giving us names of these. If you have any idea who they are, please do give us a call. Our phone lines are open until midnight tonight and from 7:30 until midnight tomorrow.
We're back after news with Crimewatch Update, 10:35. Later in some regions, join us if you can.
Crimewatch next time's on Wednesday, June the 21st. Whatever happens, don't have nightmares, sleep well. Good night.
Good night.